Hello and thank you for watching my video. This is another in the series that's going to be looking at each profession, how they act in the different game modes for Guild Wars 2 for 2015. And this time we're actually going to be focusing on the Guardian. Now the Guardian is a very versatile profession. It covers many different sort of builds. There are many different options. Excuse me, it's actually very viable in all formats of the game, and the Guardian is one of the staples, I think, in Guild Wars 2. More often than not, you will get dungeon runs with at least one Guardian. There will be, in PvP, you did previously used to have bunker Guardians. They've become a lot more DPS style in the current climate. It's a bit more DPS Guardian. But I wanted to show you, I've got a couple of Guardians and I tend to go for more the support role rather than the DPS role. And the good thing about the Guardian is it does have obviously the ability to give boons to your allies and to support your group. So as you can see here, this is what my female Norn Guardian. I've been trying to develop this character for World versus World. I haven't completely got exactly how I want to do it. I've just been getting exotic armor, and I've been sort of putting it on my character as I go along. So I haven't fully equipped it for World versus World. It's got a lot of healing and toughness, but generally this is a very versatile character. You can see here we have a sort of an ascended hammer. Again, I haven't fully equipped that, and an ascended celestial staff, which I think I'm probably going to be looking at going for sort of a celestial build for my Guardian. I don't quite know. I'm just trying a few different things at the moment, but definitely with a bit of a support play. The idea, Guardians currently, this is obviously going to change with the update to stability, is that Guardians will pop stability. You've got here, if we look at the skills that we have on offer, the slot skills. Healing, I tend to go for the signets, but you can obviously, you've got block attacks while healing. You can heal your allies as well, and you can get Litany of Wrath. You know, Litany of Wrath was one of the new skills that was brought into Guild Wars 2, one of the new sort of healing skills. They've never really, that's never really, I don't think, proven useful, Litany of Wrath. But if we look at here, we have signets, improved power, and reducing incoming damage. I tend to run this quite a lot because I like the fact that I have a flat 10% incoming damage reduction. We also have retreat, which is a huge speed boost, 25 seconds boost for your swiftness, and obviously things like wall of reflection, very good in PvP against rangers in particular, but also against thieves and I think grenades as well. So you get a lot of good sort of reflection and defense from wall of reflection in PvP, but we're going to come on to PvP a little bit later. We also have a lot of Condi removal, smite conditions, very useful, and you know, we have the spirits don't tend to get as much sort of use you know, as what they can be. And I think that's probably something that needs to be worked on. I think just trying to improve those spirit weapons would be a good start. And then we come into more, we've got another spirit weapon. We have Signet of Wrath, increased condition damage. Again, you know, the Guardian is supposed to have slight condition damage. Sort of, you know, but it has limited, or sorry, it's supposed to have heavy condition damage, but it only has limited condition skills, particularly fire and burning, which you always get from the Virtue of Justice. But it's very, I don't see the benefit of going for a Signet of Wrath ever, because I don't think, apart from to immobilize your target, I don't think it's that crucial. Save yourselves, and you know, these are all the boons, the shouts. They're always very good, particularly in boss fights, you know, against things like Torquatal. Stand your ground, one of the staples of you know, the Guardian, giving stability for 6 seconds. Really pretty strong shout, that is. Very useful, and again in World versus World this would work very well. And there's a few meditations. I don't think meditations work as strong as shouts, but generally, you know, if you're around in PvE, if you're on your own, meditations can be pretty good. So then we come into the sort of the top end. I sometimes run Signet of Mercy. Reviving the nearby allies, quite handy. Again, I also do hold the line quite a lot, and this on hallowed ground, very very good for stability, very much used in PvP, in world versus world, sorry, because it grants your, most of your party, it pulses for 10 seconds as well, which can be increased duration, meaning if you're in a massive Zerg, you're stacked up, and then you run through it, you'll get a lot of your allies will get stability, meaning all those CCs will be negated. This obviously is going to be changing, but I still think Guardian will be a very, very big part of World versus World. And you see most commanders tend to be the Guardians because they're there in the front line. They can absorb a hell of a lot of damage, and they can obviously cleanse themselves, give them stability, and avoid those knockdowns and CCs. Sanctuary, a very, very good skill as well, because it sort of, the only thing that counters this really is stability, and it's, becomes a reflect that obviously if people try to run into it, they get knocked back. So very, very useful in PvP for controlling points, because you can really deny an opponent the ability to get onto that point. And also if you need to heal or resurrect somebody, or even get the stomp, then you can prevent any of your enemies from coming into that bubble. So then we come on to the elites for the Guardian. If we ignore the racial elites, because obviously I am a norm. Tomb of Wrath, the tombs don't tend to be that, great. They are getting a little bit slightly tweaked now and again, but still, notice both my Guardians run renewed focus. I enjoy having these virtues because you can, they give you a lot of extra survivability, particularly in PvP. I tend to run a bit of a support build, so I can really help out and give my party a bit of sort of extra healing going on. And particularly as well in PvE and dungeon runs, you'll see my character give a lot of health to my party members. So there's a lot of good skills that are available to the Guardian. It is ideally as the support, but the support role in PvP, you can switch that to go for a DPS or even have bunkers. I tend to run a bunker support build in PvP. However, there are a lot of DPS Guardians. We look at the weapons you've got. You do have sword, which obviously this one, flashing blade, where they teleport to your target. Very, very useful in PvP because you can suddenly sort of teleport to your target. Again, Zealot's defense, you can destroy ranged attacks against rangers. Very, very useful indeed. Then we go the hammer, particularly hammer skill 4. If your opponent's down and you want them off the point, I get this a lot. I get hit with banish a lot. Also in PvP, ring of warding, extremely useful, particularly with the pro players. They will use this very, very well indeed to trap an opponent in that ring. And really, if they're, if they have a thief with you, for example, the thief can go into that ring and attack your opponent while you've got them CC'd. Unless they have stability, they can't get out of that. So the hammer, very, very good for controlling an opponent and for really giving them knockbacks as well. The greatsword, I tend to run this on my other Guardian. I have to admit, I don't think it's as strong as it could be, but binding blade is very, very useful indeed. It allows you to really sort of bring those opponents together into a sort of a tight stack. Very, very useful in dungeons and particularly in fractals to bring mobs together if they're split apart. And obviously then you can sort of use your Whirling Wrath. You've got Symbol of Wrath, and you can really do a significant amount of damage. Mace doesn't really have that many strong skills currently. They're probably the most sort of OP one would be the Protector's Strike, where you can surround yourself and allies with a shield. You've got Symbol of Faith that allows you to regenerate. But again, it's Mace very rarely used for Guardian, in my opinion. Some people may run Mace quite a lot, but generally you don't see Mace in PvE or PvP. Scepter is one of the ranged weapons for the Guardian. Very weak damage. It's got a little bit of CC on there, but not really impressive with the Scepter. It's pretty light damage and not really too strong in my opinion. The staff is very, very good because if you ever want to get a lot of tags, the staff on the Guardian is the best weapon. This Wave of Wrath can hit up to 5 foes, so you can really get those tags. If you're doing the temple runs, particularly like Grenth, or for example, Grenth is the main one, But if you're doing things like, Balthazar, or anywhere there's lots and lots of spawns of mobs, the Ara Temple sort of attack, or particularly, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, Melandru's a very good one as well. Using Wave of Wrath will really allow you to get a lot of, sort of loot from enemies. So, we also have a look at, you've got Orb of Light, very good healing. Symbol of Swiftness, it really gets a lot of use in World versus World. If you're in a Zerg and you move, going through the borderland, or, sort of the Eternal Battlegrounds, you will see multiple Symbol of Swiftness. It allows your Zerg to move extremely quickly. Empower, also very, very good, particularly good in dungeons. If you're ever in a dungeon and a Guardian, take your staff with you. If you have particularly elementalists, by channeling, using Empower, even for example in Tequatl fights, you'll see when you go to attack Tequatl, you're all stacked up. Empower is extremely powerful. Not just for you, you're really boosting your party and your allies in the area by giving them 12 might stacks, and that is a huge boost in damage, particularly for power and condition damage. For condies like Necros, it's really, really good indeed. And again, we have line of warding. For PvP, it's very, very useful indeed, because you can really control points by stopping an opponent unless they do have stability, which they don't. And a lot of the time, particularly for example on Battle of Kylo, you can, if you're on one of the sort of points, the sub points, you can put this on top of the stairs so that the enemy can't actually get up the stairs to decap that point. Focus is also very, very good, particularly this Shield of Wrath. A lot in PvP with the DPS builds, they will run swords and Shield of Wrath, because that really does allow them to, sort of avoid attacks, and very, very useful, and it's a blast finisher as well, so pretty damn deadly as well. The torch doesn't really get that much use, I'm afraid. It's a pretty ineffective weapon currently in most builds. In PvE, PvP, and World vs World. Shield again, I used to run Shield in the PvP. However, because it does give you that knockback, you will see it occasionally. However, I just feel that it isn't really that effective. The underwater weapons, we can talk about. The Weight of Justice allows you to sink a foe. You've got some cool little underwater weapons, but underwater combat's been pretty neglected. But I do like some of these Guardian skills, particularly like Spear Wall, where you fall back as you create a spear wall. So this is the skills for the Guardian. The traits, as you can see here, I'm running Toughness, Vitality, with a slight boon in duration. But yeah, with the DPS, you do want to run on the power and on the sort of, particularly going into some of these types of skills. But you can see here, these are just some of the, particularly, this is because I run a hammer. You allow it to chill enemies and really, again, control them in that sort of, particular area. But there's a lot of different skills. Guardian is one of the most versatile builds professions out there. It's a good one to start off with. If you're pretty new to the game, the only downside will be that damage can be pretty limited unless you go full DPS, which obviously I'm not. But the Guardian is a very effective class indeed. Okay, so we're now on my Guardian that's for PvP. As you can see here, I run a Staff Greatsword combo. This build is actually on my channel under the PvP build section. But again, we have Sanctuary to sort of, really sort of focus on a point and allow me to heal and resurrect allies. We have Condition Cleanse, because I feel that's pretty useful in PvP. The build I run, I go with the Rune of the Dodiac and the Cleric Amulet, and I have Sigil of Blood and the Sigil of Accuracy, because obviously I want that a chance to steal critical, and the chance to remove a condition and inflicted burning duration. I run, increased vitality. The difference is if you take that off, watch the health, it goes from 17,905 to 14,905, a big difference. And all symbols heal all allies, so by putting things like Symbol of Wrath, or the symbol of swiftness, you are going to heal allies with each pulse. So if I'm standing on that point, I'm going to get a lot of healing damage with each pulse. So over 5 seconds, I will get almost 1,000 healing there. Again, I don't think it's the most strongest build in the world. This is my little build that I found useful and works for me. And that's what you got to do. Find a build that works for yourself. Again, I always tend to run the passive signets that allow me healing just sort of passively. I just prefer it that way. It just means I don't have to think about healing that much. So this has been the Guardian. The Guardian is a useful profession. It's one of those professions that, you know, it's got that survivability. You can go around the world and you can sort of survive in those big world boss fights. And it's a class that I do recommend people should start off. I think if you were going to start off learning a new profession in Guild Wars 2, being the Guardian would be one of the better options, because you're not going to suffer from dying too much, because you will have obviously a lot of these virtues that are able to heal a lot more, and you get around the world complete a lot better as well. You know, if you look at, you know, the key running builds, a lot of the builds will be focused on the Guardian, because the Guardian does have that ability to run around the map pretty quickly. It gives you a lot of speed boosts, and it's very, very handy indeed. So I'm hoping that you found this little guide to to the Guardian in PvP, PvE, and World vs. World pretty useful. The Guardian overall is a very good class. It's useful for dungeons, useful for world boss and world events, useful in PvP, and very, very useful in World vs. World. Overall, there's not a single part of the Guild Wars 2 universe, or, you know, sort of game that can do without the Guardian. But, you know, their Guardians are all very, very useful in whatever situation they're needed in. So thanks very much for watching, guys. I will catch you on the next video.